Welcome to this video on reciprocal graphs. I hope you're well today. As you can see in our diagrams, we've got four graphs. The top two you will have met at GCSE and the bottom two you won't have. So you met the standard reciprocal graphs at GCSE, such as y equals 4 over x and y equals negative 6 over x. So you should already be familiar with the shapes of those. So here we've been asked to sketch y equals 1 over x and negative 3 over x. And as you should know from GCSE, 1 over x has a part of the curve in the top right quadrant and the bottom left quadrant. And if you make it negative, as in negative 3 over x, then it basically swaps round. So you've got a part of the graph in the top left quadrant and the bottom right quadrant. You can't tell just by looking at an individual graph what the value of the numerator is. And later on in this video, you'll see the two graphs drawn together, so you can sort of tell the difference. Basically, something about asymptotes it mentioned at the bottom. So for the reciprocal graphs, they tend towards the x-axis or the y-axis. Okay, so the distances between the line and the x-axis, the curve and the x-axis gets gradually decreased as the lines go off towards infinity, and both y equals 0 and x equals 0 for these two graphs are the asymptotes. However, you were probably not exposed to reciprocal graphs with squares on the denominator, such as y equals 4 over x squared and y equals negative 6 over x squared. Now, because the denominator is x squared, we know that the denominator is positive regardless of whether x is positive or negative. So the whole graph is above the x-axis where y is positive. So, as we've just heard, and the hint says, note that anything squared will always be at least 0. So that means that the denominator of both of these fractions, 3 over x squared and negative 4 over x squared, is a positive value. So if we divide 3 by a positive value, we still get a positive value. Okay, the larger the value of x, the smaller the answer because we're dividing by it. So when x is very close to 0, you're going to get a very big number. So for example, if x is 0.1, x squared is 0.01, and 3 divided by 0.01 is 300. But if x is 10, then we get 3 over 10 squared, which is 0.03. And so therefore, when x is 10, we get a very small value. For the other one, negative 4 over x squared, basically everything I said is the same, except there's a minus sign in front of it. So rather than all points being above the x-axis, they're all below the x-axis. Sorry for ducking down on the previous slide. I just got a text from my son who started university last week. Anyway, another reciprocal graph. This case, we've got y equals 6 over x minus 2 squared plus 3. So rather than the asymptote being at, say, the x-axis, the graph has been raised by 3. Okay, we'll be looking at graph transformations in the next lesson, but basically the 3 on the end has made the graph go up by 3. The asymptote, the vertical asymptote is not x equals 0, the y-axis, because the x minus 2 squared has also translated the graph right to. Again, these are things that you covered to some degree at GCSE. So as a result of the x minus 2 in the brackets and the plus 3 on the end, the whole graph, which would have been 6 over x squared, has been translated to 2 to the right and 3 up. And the green asymptote is the y equals 3, and the blue asymptote is x equals 2. So based on this video, the reciprocal graphs, you should now be able to attempt 21 to 26. But in fact, the rest of the questions, 27 to 40, are just extra practice of cubics, quartics, and reciprocals in some order. And just to repeat myself, here you can see graphs, 25 and 26, but the ones I'm talking about are 27 to 40, which are a mixed selection of our 3 types of graphs that we've met. Thank you for watching.